The Philadelphia Eagles are on the tail end of training camp, and today they get some bad news as one positional battle has a clear issue. We'll even hear from Vic Fangio and what he had to say about this, and we'll give you a clear solution to fix the problem immediately. We'll break it all down and more, but welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB, and we'll start it off with the quote of the day. The mindset from Vic Fangio on wearing sweatpants in the insane heat. Quote, "It's not hot today. That is a mindset." Love the way this guy thinks. Love his approach. Love his mentality. And practice was insanely hot yesterday. It was scorching. They had to move practice up today because it's like 100+ degrees outside. And Vic Fangio's out there in a hoodie and sweats. He said, "I don't care. That's a mindset. I'll drip from head to toe. But I'm all good because I'm out there ready to work," and he passes that on to these players. And speaking of mindset, Jalen Hurts seems to come out with like some new crazy quote that you should put up on the locker room wall every single week. Today he says, quote, "Fatigue makes cowards out of all of us." When asked about how the offense looked today, Jalen says it's been good for the team to have to push through the heat over the last two practices. He says the running game has been good and the passing game could be better. So Jalen Hurts not satisfied at all. Push through. Make it happen. Put in the hard work now. Put in the reps. And when it really matters in the bright lights, you'll come through and succeed. Also, Jalen Hurts talked about his mindset, his mentality. He says, quote, "I've always had a pretty consistent temperament and approach to the game from a standpoint of setting the right example, having integrity in your work, having integrity in your attention. I've always tried to carry myself in that way. I will say that over time, the desire to win changed. The desire to win was only enhanced because of different experiences of failure coming up short. I think competitively, that's something that drives me." Spending this offseason with Michael Jordan and talking to some of these other greats and now feeling what it's like to get over the mountaintop and succeed. I mean, that only drives a competitor even more. A lot of people have talked about his approach to these press conferences and the team. He's not that much of a vocal leader. He's gotten better in every area over the years, whether it's on the field talent-wise or personality-wise. But one thing you can never say about Jalen Hurts is that he doesn't care, that he's not driven. No matter what he says to the media or whatever, this guy is wired differently. And that's why I like him, and he shows what all of the greats show, like the ability and the approach and really just the hard truth desire to get better no matter the outcome. Unfortunately, not everybody can be out there displaying this mentality right now, right? The Eagles are pushing through. They're making these good quotes, and they're having a pretty good camp, but the injury bug has struck already. And the one that really surprised me today was this: Nolan Smith with a concussion. Today was the first practice that had the pads on. Now, they weren't doing anything crazy, but they were hitting a little bit. And I don't know how Nolan Smith before today got a concussion. So that's something to keep our eyes on. A lot of the other ones we expect limited: Jihaad, Campbell, Jalen Carter, Cam Jurgens, and Smail Munden. But the one that I am also more concerned with, at least from a positional battle standpoint, is Andrew Mukuba. And yesterday's practice did not include Andrew Mukuba. He was hurt. Today was the second practice in a row that he missed due to a shoulder injury. No more details. We don't know what's going on. And as it relates to the offensive side of the ball, Terrace Marshall was also helped off the field today after having an apparent leg injury. So, look, you don't want to go through this stuff. I feel like championship teams have to get a bit lucky with injuries. But in terms of Andrew Mukuba, I think that could signal some concern. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Cornerback and safety. Those are the main two battles that we had coming into camp. And when we look at Elliott Shorr-Parks today, he says Keely Ringo with the starting defense today. So there's been a few days where Ringo's the number one guy. There's been a few days where Adoree Jackson's the number one guy. Apparently, Ringo had a really good one-on-one session today, so maybe his stock is rising up. But on the other hand, I mean, it's time to put up or shut up for Adoree Jackson. That's what Vic Fangio essentially said here. Listen to what Vic Fangio had to say today when he was asked about Adoree Jackson.
Why do you think that this is the place that he can maybe show? You mentioned what he could be. Is it the scheme?
Yeah, I don't know if I think it's the place. I think it's time for him to show that. He in Tennessee, when it came time to re-sign him, after his contract was up, they didn't. The Giants, his contract was up, they didn't. it's time to show who he is or who he isn't.
Woo! Yo, I love Vic Fangio. Now, I know some people are going to be rubbed the wrong way by this. They said pretty much, why is this the time and place for Adoree Jackson to, break out and have his best year and be a solid vet for this defense? And Vic came back and said, look, I don't know if it's the time or place, I don't know if this is the place, but it's time for Adoree Jackson to either show us who he is or who he isn't. He said Tennessee cut him and didn't bring him back. The Giants didn't bring him back. So I like this. This is how you light a fire under these guys. Hopefully Adoree Jackson hears this and dives down within and says, you know what? I'm going to prove him wrong. And he's going to have to put me on the field, and I'm going to force him not to take me off. Now, some other players, a.k.a. the Miami Dolphins, might hear this and say, we don't want to play for this guy. He's too hard, and he's just too traditional, and we're soft, and we're going to be babies about it. This is how you set the bar. This is how you set the standard. Like I said yesterday, it doesn't matter who you are, what your contract is, whether you're Bryce Huff coming over on a $51 million contract, doesn't matter. If you're not the best player, you're not going to be on the field. So I like this. I like this battle. I like this mentality. And in addition to that, Vic Fangio also talked about Andrew Mukuba, who is missing time, as we said. Quote, there's no replacing physical reps. He also talked about Sidney Brown, the other guy who is, I guess, in the lead for the job at this point. And he says, I see him getting better. But even more to elaborate there, he says he's finally getting to start in OTAs and training camp and learning his way through the system and the way we expect him to play. He had no chance at that last year. I see him getting better. So it's starting to feel like Sidney Brown's stock is rising. And for the time being, Mukuba's stock is going down simply because he needs every single rep. We talked about that coming into camp, right? His contract situation was unresolved a few days before this. We said Mukuba needs to be out there. Look at Cooper DeJean last year, right? Missed the whole camp and didn't even come back till week 5. We saw the impact that he had, but I go back to the offseason where I was very happy with what Howie Roseman did overall in a higher scope, but the one move I still am not happy with is trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You had a guy at least on one more year of a deal at a pretty good amount, and he was an absolute dog. Sure, maybe he pisses people off, rubs them the wrong way, but you saw the impact with versus without C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and he is a for sure starter, whereas Sidney Brown and Andrew Mukuba are maybes. So, in my opinion, right now, the Eagles need to go out and get a safety and make sure they have enough depth. Not saying Sidney Brown can't be the guy or Mukuba can't be the guy when he gets healthy. We don't even know the details on his injury. But the Eagles have one player out there who has been waiting, who has been advocating, literally him trying to convince the Eagles to sign him, and that is Justin Simmons. We talked about him many times in the offseason, 4-time All-Pro safety, 2-time Pro Bowler, and he loves Vic Fangio, 31 years old, signed late last year with Atlanta, and he said that going to Philly with Vic Fangio, you know exactly what you're getting out of me. He's done multiple interviews this offseason. He wants to be in Philly. Can you get to the right number? And will he fit? Yeah, I think he'll fit. How much is Howie Roseman willing to pay? Will Justin Simmons take a discount later in his career to try to find a new home and also play for a contender? I mean, why not? If the Eagles are shaping up this way and look like they're going to be a pretty good contender, and you've made some decent money in your career, and you have the accolades, and you want a chance to win, and the Eagles need probably another safety right now, I mean, this is the pitch perfect situation for Justin Simmons. Absolutely perfect. So if I'm the Eagles and Howie Roseman, I go out and I bring him in and give him a chance. Simple as that. Not going to cost you too much. And that's how I would kind of solve this. I think it's an easy solution. I think they're a lot more confident with Ringo or Adoree Jackson at CB2 than they are with Sidney Brown or Mukuba at safety right now. Vic Fangio apparently loves Jihaad Campbell. Put him out there with the first team again. No Nakobe Dean, obviously, rehabbing that injury, but ESP another day of just noticing Jihaad Campbell. He says he's long, fast, covers a ton of ground. Seems he's picking up quickly the mental part of the game. He made good plays against Saquon and Dallas Goedert today. So the stock is up on Campbell, and the stock is down on the Dallas Cowboys. Last but not least, Micah Parsons further away from a deal with the Cowboys than he was in late March. So the Cowboys continue to sign other players. This is an absolute disaster from their perspective, everybody over here in Eagle Land is laughing. They don't even know how to sign their future Hall of Famer superstar player. Now, the Cowboys also had a couple brutal injuries. Obviously, we don't wish for any type of injury, so this is, it just sucks, But Tyler Guyton, the left tackle for the Cowboys, first-round pick from last year, who was thought to have had a torn ACL, only has a bone fracture, but will be out 4 to 6 weeks. And then today, they had a cornerback injury, Kalen Carson, out 4 to 6 weeks as well. So a lot of teams dealing with these injuries around the league. Hopefully, they get them out of the way now. But the Eagles are going to have another healthy season, and we'll see if they can do that. But give me your thoughts down below. What do you think the Eagles should do at safety and corner? Do they have enough right now? Give me all your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.